The New York Giants are going to get killed by the San Francisco 49ers tonight. At least that's what everybody's narratives are. We're going to take a look at maybe a way that the Giants can beat the 49ers, and we're going to build a DraftKings Showdown lineup around that. I'm Simon Edwards at Pumacom with Heat Seeker Sports. But before we get into that, please hit a like on this video, hit subscribe on the YouTube channel. We're going to be doing these Gamescript shows throughout the season for DraftKings Showdown. We've been hitting on our captains multiple times so far on these shows. Last week, we got Adam Thielen and George Pickens as very low-owned captains. Nailed the game scripts there. Tonight, we're going to try to do it again. So let's take a look at this game. We're looking at San Francisco versus the New York Giants. So San Francisco 49ers versus New York Giants. The Giants are 10.5 point dogs in this game. San Francisco's 10.5 point favorites. The total is 44. Has not looked good for the Giants all season. They've looked like a bad team. Daniel Jones finally came alive in the second half against Arizona, a game that they were losing badly last Sunday. I feel like the Giants won that game out of desperation, knowing that they had San Francisco coming up in week 3. They didn't want to start the season out as 0-3, especially when they had a easy potential win against Arizona. So they were able to pull it out and pull out a great win against Arizona in the second half. San Francisco has been on a roll. San Francisco has looked dominant. Their defense has been crushing, and they have just looked like a Super Bowl favorite type of team this season. So we got two very different teams here. Maybe we take a look at some ways that the Giants can exploit some of San Francisco's defense's weaknesses. It's an unlikely outcome, but we want to compete against 5% of the field in this case, not 95% of the field. So we'll come up with some different ways to do it, whether you want to back San Francisco as the winner of this game or you want to back New York. I'll have a couple different options for you. So as far as injuries, it looks like Brandon Ayuk right now is questionable. His injury is going to have some big implications on who we want to plug in our lineups tonight. We got George Kittle and Deebo Samuel will be greatly influenced by whether or not Brandon Ayuk is playing tonight. Their target rates go way up when Ayuk is out. So we want to keep an eye on that injury throughout the day. Saquon Barkley is out. He looks like he's got some sort of an ankle sprain. Not sure how long he's going to be out for, but they don't have him versus San Francisco, which is huge for New York because he's obviously their best weapon. We got some O-line of the Giants out. Ben Bredesen is out and Andrew Thomas are out. That's not good for the Giants in a situation where Daniel Jones has already been sacked 10 times this season, and they're going up against San Francisco's defense with Nick Bosa back in the lineup. That is not a good matchup for New York, and it's one of the many elements that New York has going against it in this game, and they're going to have to figure out a way to get around all these hurdles in order to even stand a chance of keeping this game close. And we got a linebacker, Azeez Ojulari, out as well. So things are looking pretty rough for New York in this one. We'll take a look at some builds that we can do to get a little bit different from the field and figure out a way that we can put ourselves in position to be competitive in this showdown contest on DraftKings. So I'm going to take a look at the San Francisco side first. We'll do that. But before we get into it, please hit subscribe on the YouTube page. We're really trying to get those subscribers up. Click like on the video. We need that engagement to get those YouTube subscribers up and to get us going in this YouTube algorithm so we can start making some waves in this content, and we can start producing more content to make it, worth producing when we get more views on this stuff. So let's look at some of the ways that San Francisco can win here. It's going to be pretty easy, in my opinion, for them to pull this one off. But the question is going to be how they do it. They could do it a variety of ways. They could do it with the running game. Christian McCaffrey is one of the best, if not the best, running back in the league. And he's on San Francisco, and they have a great offense that often is geared towards the run. So they are the perfect offense for Christian McCaffrey, and they have the perfect matchup against the Giants here. So McCaffrey is going to be a popular captain in this matchup tonight. The Giants have been allowing 25.5 DraftKings points to running backs throughout the season. So it's a really good matchup for San Francisco running game any way that you cut it there. But given the popularity of McCaffrey and given his salary in captain, it would be $19,800 for plugging in Christian McCaffrey as the captain. So I'm going to look at a different angle here. With New York, their defense is very aggressive, and they blitz a lot. And the guy who benefits the most on San Francisco is George Kittle when that happens. And George Kittle has started the season slow, so he's not on the top of people's captains list right now. So I'm going to try a build here with George Kittle as the captain. I do like Christian McCaffrey. I think that McCaffrey is going to at least have a half of this game where he is the starting running back and the main running back that's getting the work in this game. So I'm going to be putting Christian McCaffrey in this lineup as well. What would make George Kittle get the captain over Christian McCaffrey? Maybe Christian McCaffrey doesn't, play the whole game. Maybe he gets a lot of relief from Elijah Mitchell. I really like Elijah Mitchell in this game, and he's only $2,400. He gives us some salary relief. He's going to get a lot of garbage time, most likely, in this game. So he's going to get a decent amount of work. So I'm going to plug him in as well. Now, I already laid out the Giants' offensive line problems. On top of that, the Giants just don't have any weapons with Barkley out tonight. They have some decent speed on their receiving core with Jalen Hyatt. But really their wide receiver core is probably one of the weakest in the NFL right now. And they really don't have a run game without Barkley. So it's going to be interesting to see how they compensate for that. I like the 49ers D in this. I think that's an easy plug and play. They're 5,800, which is expensive for a defense, but the matchup is just so good in this one. It's hard to get away from them. If you wanted to fade the 49ers defense as well, don't mind that at all, because defenses, as we know, don't often get there when it comes to the points we need from them, especially at this salary. I just think that with the Giants giving up 10 sacks already, and they're facing San Francisco now, I just don't see much hope for Daniel Jones surviving this without sacks and interceptions. And San Francisco's defense is just explosive. So I like them in this contest. We got to kind of look at New York's side here to get an idea of a guy that we might want to plug in on their side, because we have to have at least one of them. So some of the guys that I'm not going to build out a lineup on this one, an entire lineup. So we're going to look at some of the New York side on this one. Jalen Hyatt, he is a super fast rookie on the Giants. A lot of people were high on him in the preseason. He ended up on the Giants. Giants need some speed in that offense. We don't have Saquon Barkley. Daniel Jones is going to have to get rid of the ball in under 3 seconds, probably under 2.5 seconds, honestly, with this pass rush. Who's he going to throw it to? Jalen Hyatt has the ability to exploit San Francisco secondary, which is vulnerable on the boundaries. And Daniel Jones is going to need somebody who can get open quick. Jalen Hyatt's got the speed. I like him as my giant in a build like this. And he's 5,200. So I don't know what that's going to do to his ownership yet, but 5,200 is expensive for a rookie receiver who has literally done nothing in this league yet. He hasn't done anything. We don't know, what kind of player he's going to be just yet, but he's got a lot of potential. So I haven't seen any ownership projections just yet. So I don't know what his ownership's going to be. So just theoretically, let's say he's low owned just because of this price. Jalen Hyatt caught a couple bombs from Daniel Jones in the second half of the game against Arizona when the Giants were in catch-up mode. I expect the Giants to be playing from behind, potentially significantly from behind throughout this game. So I would imagine that Jalen Hyatt is going to get some opportunity in this game. So if we plug him in, that leaves us with $13,500. You can basically take your pick of whoever you want to add into this lineup in this build. So, your options are way open there. Let's go over some of these players. Daniel Jones, he's going to be running for his life today, and he's going to be having the potential to pass a ton, obviously, throughout this game in catch-up mode. So we don't know who he's going to throw it to, but we do know that Daniel Jones is going to have to be aggressive in this one. Brock Purdy, I like Brock Purdy. He's completely underrated quarterback. I was recommending him highly in best ball in the preseason. Brock Purdy is a competent quarterback. He plays with a lot of energy. The dude has a bunch of charisma, and I think that comes through in his playing style. He makes good decisions. I like Brock Purdy in general, and not sure I necessarily think that the game script that we have for this one would be the best build for him, but with Kittle and the captain, I lean towards having Brock Purdy exposure just because I need to have the quarterback have a big game in addition to George Kittle. So that's a case for Brock Purdy. Deebo Samuel, he's another guy that benefits when Brandon Ayuk's out. That's going to be very important. Keep an eye on that news throughout the day for Brandon Ayuk. Darren Waller, San Francisco is not going to leave Daniel Jones with a lot of time to throw. That leaves opportunity for Daniel Waller. Dump offs underneath. He doesn't have Barkley to dump it off to, so maybe he dumps it off to Waller. Waller can get a bunch of receptions in this one. San Francisco is really good against the tight end, though, so keep that in mind when you're making your decision on Waller tonight. Waller does not have a good matchup in this. Matt Breida. Breida's an interesting play. He's a former 49er. He played for the 49ers back a few years ago before going to the Giants. And, Breida has had some good games. I actually won a showdown contest with Breida and the captain back when he was with the 49ers. I had a lineup that included the other running back for the 49ers at the time. I believe it's Tevin Coleman. And that ended up doing really well. But Breida facing his old team in San Francisco does not have a good matchup. But San Francisco has shown a little bit of vulnerability to the run, but I just can't really make too much of a case for Breida in this build. Isaiah Hodgins, he's a guy that's been getting some targets, and he's probably the most reliable receiver on the Giants. And, he's gonna have some opportunity, like we were discussing with like Jalen Hyatt. He's gonna have some opportunity in this one. And Hodgins is a boundary receiver, and that is where San Francisco is most vulnerable. So keep him in your player pool. Then we got the Darius Slayton. Slayton's another boundary receiver for the Giants, so keep him in mind. He is another option that you're going to want to have in your player pool. I probably would not start more than one Giants receiver in this game, like just because of the way I think it's going to play out. But, up to you. If you're going to do a San Francisco heavy build, I would not start two Giants receivers. Jalen Hyatt, we talked about. We got a few of the San Francisco guys. Juwan Jennings, not interested there. We got Paris Campbell for the Giants. I think he's primarily in the slot. So I don't want to have too much of him. It doesn't look like they have a great matchup. Although the slot, San Francisco is giving up 31 points in the slot. So maybe reconsider that. Maybe consider Paris Campbell in this one. But again, I would not start more than one Giants receiver. Same situation. And Paris Campbell, if he's getting dump offs from Daniel Jones, that would make sense. San Francisco, their DVOA guarding the middle of the field is strong though. So despite giving up all their DraftKings points to the slot receivers, I still would be skeptical about Paris Campbell in this one. Let's see. We got both the kickers. I would lean towards San Francisco's kicker, Moody, in this one, as opposed to Gano. I don't think that the Giants are going to be in scoring position often. And I think when they are, they're going to be needing touchdowns, not field goals. So I don't like Gano as much in this one. Giants D, we'll get to that when we build our Giants build on that one. And then beyond that, I don't think that you need to go to any of these cheap guys for any type of build tonight. So let's clear this out and let's go to a version where the Giants win this game, or at least keep it close or competitive. Again, subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit like on this video, get us that engagement. Definitely appreciate that. Follow us over on Twitter at Heatseeker Sports. Appreciate that. I'm at Pumacom over on X as well. So how are the Giants going to win this game? That is a very good question. The 49ers defense, as always, looks dominant. The Giants are playing on a short week on the road. After just playing on the road, they stayed over in Arizona after this past Sunday's game, and they've been practicing over in Arizona with 100 and plus degree weather. So it's not the environment that the Giants are used to when they practice. So not looking good for the Giants, but if they were to win, they would have to bottle up Christian McCaffrey. Like that's number one. They'd have to put a bunch of pressure on Brock Purdy because when he actually has pressure, like his rating goes way down and his performance goes way down. And the Giants are a blitzing team, so they have the ability to put pressure on Purdy if they are successful and if they're able to beat that 49ers offensive line. And we want Jones to have enough time to attack that boundary defense of the 49ers. So let's mess around a little bit here and build a Giants game script here. So, I talked about it earlier. Jalen Hyatt, I think, has the potential most upside of any of the Giants receivers, and he'll be lesser owned than Daniel Jones in this as far as a captain perspective. So let's take a look at what maybe his projected ownership is. Daniel Jones is coming in around 11% ownership. Jalen Hyatt is, you have to scroll way down to find him. He is 0.3%. Okay. So that right there is a good excuse to build some of these Giants friendly builds, because the Giants heavy builds, in addition to like a low owned captain like Jalen Hyatt, Giants heavy builds are going to be super low owned in this contest tonight. And we've seen it before, like with these underdogs, any given Sunday, in this case, any given Thursday. Both these teams are on a short week. Giants just had to have a miraculous comeback against one of the worst teams in the league, but they rolled, and like they got their confidence up with that win, and they have good coaching, according to the people who voted for Brian Daboll for Coach of the Year last year. He won that award. So obviously, he's got some credibility to him. They had an easy schedule. That's besides the point. But let's get to Jalen Hyatt in the captain here, and let's build around that. So if I have Jalen Hyatt in the captain, I want to have Daniel Jones in there too. I believe Daniel Jones will be running a lot in this game, and if things go well, then Daniel Jones will be valuable in this build. So let's say that he's firing underneath. Let's give him Darren Waller in this one too, because he's going to need more. Giants are going to need more than just Jalen Hyatt performing in this in order to be successful. Let's give him Darren Waller. You guys can plug in who you want there, knowing Darren Waller does not have a good matchup in this game. San Francisco has been good against tight ends for a couple years now, like one of the best teams against tight ends for a couple years now. So it's not a great matchup for Darren Waller. Obviously, the 49ers have given up 10 points a game to tight end, though, so keep that in mind. So in this build, in order for the Giants to pull this one off, I feel like they're going to need their defense to be successful in applying that pressure to Brock Purdy. So I'm going to plug in the Giants D in this build, because the Giants are going to need that pick six or something. Like, they're going to need a big play by the defense, and nobody's going to own the Giants defense. 49ers can put up enough points to counteract any big plays that the Giants make. But for the sake of this build and the sake of the story that we're telling here, let's leave the Giants defense in there. Other option would be to plug in Matt Breida as opposed to that Giants defense. Maybe Breida comes through in a revenge game against his old team. So in a build like this, Christian McCaffrey would be more involved throughout the game. So let's plug in McCaffrey there. That leaves us with about $8,000 in salary. That gives us options like Kittle still out there as an option. That gives us, maybe you want to play San Francisco's D in there as well. Maybe you want to do one of the kickers. This would be more of a Gano friendly build, but we don't want necessarily 5 Giants and 1 49er, just knowing the offensive firepower that the 49ers have. I would stick with another 49er in this situation. Scrolling down a little bit more here, this guy, Ronnie Bell, I saw Evan Silva had mentioned him, suggesting that when Ayuk went out, he stepped in, or could be the replacement option. Just keep Ronnie Bell on your mind. Maybe do a little research on him. I don't like him in this game, but like if you're looking for a cheap guy, he's $200, and he could have some potential there. So yeah, those are some options. Elijah Mitchell, he would also maybe work in this build if you wanted to go there. But Yeah, those are some options for how the Giants are going to win, potentially could win in this game. You just want to build a story around their weaknesses, which are the boundary receivers. You want to build a story with Daniel Jones having some sort of success like he did in Arizona the other day. And you want to have the Giants successfully applying pressure to Brock Purdy with their blitzes. And in those situations, just take into account if the Giants are winning, that Christian McCaffrey should be involved throughout the game. If they are losing, if the Giants are getting crushed, then Elijah Mitchell is a guy that you're going to want to have some interest in. I like Elijah Mitchell as a captain as well. I just want to put that out there. He's super cheap. I mean, if you're going to put him in the captain, I would also leave salary on the table because everybody's going to have the same build. If you're building with Elijah Mitchell in the captain and have all that salary to spare, most people are going to just try to put in as many playmakers as they can into those builds. But keep in mind, the playmakers may play, like 3/4 of the game or 2.5 quarters of this game before Elijah Mitchell is just grinding out the clock, and maybe they bring in backups in the fourth quarter to give everybody rest on a Thursday night. So that's it for this episode of Gamescript. I put out a YouTube short with my favorite 4 plays of this game, including 2 captains. So check that out. That's over on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel as always, and we'll see you tomorrow. I'll put out some more content tomorrow on some of these weekend games. And until then, thanks for watching.